What's going on, guys? Nemesis here, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be giving a general guide to Pekka bridge spam and just give you guys some overall tips on how to play the deck. So, a few of you guys have been requesting me to do this video, so here it is. And without further ado, please make sure to like and subscribe. Let's get straight into it. Okay, so starting off, and by the way, before I even start off with my tips, I want to say that if there's anything else I could have missed and you guys want to know, just let me know down in the comments and I'll answer them to the best of my knowledge essentially. And yeah, so anything that I missed, just write it down and I'll respond to you guys. So first tip I can give is to recognize the opponent's deck. I think it's extremely important to recognize the opponent's deck because that way you can kind of shift your play style to how to play against the matchup in general. So by obviously starting out with the games, always want to play extremely passively, like starting out with a bandit in the back or a ghost in the back. Those are typically your best starting plays, but preferably a bandit in the back because a ghost is a little bit more matchup dependent, I would say, because it's just overall more versatile with like the splash it has. Like, so if you're playing against a bait deck, that's why bandit is just a little bit more better. I mean, it's just a little bit more pressure as well. So yeah, if you have a really bad hand, like no pressure cards and E-Wiz, like a Zap Poison, Pekka or something like that, obviously just cycle the Zap, that's the only best thing you can do. Or if you have like a Magic Archer E-Wiz, I think it's better to cycle the Magic Archer just because it is a slower moving card than the E-Wiz, and E-Wiz is better against balloon decks. So if they have like an air deck, obviously E-Wiz will do a better job at killing a balloon than a Magic Archer will. So, and like I said, since the Magic Archer is a bit slower, you want to take advantage of its counter push potential. So yeah, the next tip I can give you guys is elixir. Elixir counting is super important as well. It gives you an idea of like when to push, like when to push for damage and stuff like that. Like when he's low, if you could get a really cheeky bandit off at the bridge because he's super low in elixir and he can't afford his card in hand. Obviously, you know what I mean. So if you guys get really good at counting elixir, obviously just do a little bit of math in your head, like, oh, this guy spent this much elixir, and yeah, I don't really even count elixir that much. I just get a feel for the opponent's like plays. Like, it's at the point where I don't even do math. I just go like, okay, this guy is I feel like this guy just went super aggressive. I'm just gonna go in pretty much, and then it kind of works most of the time. So eventually that will happen as well, but it's kind of tricky to do the math in your head because especially when double elixir arises, like it gets pretty difficult, especially if you're also trying to count card cycle. It just kind of gets super overwhelming, so that's why I don't really even count elixir too much. Just get the general idea of how much he is. But up to the next tip is actually card counting, and this card counting is actually extremely important. I think it's a little bit better for sure than elixir counting because with card counting, you can just like see, okay, this guy doesn't have a good counter in his hand. This guy's gonna have to defend really awkwardly for probably more elixir than he wants to, or like if he doesn't have a good answer, you can get a really good connection off at the bridge with like a bandit or something like that. So card counting is extremely important, and honestly, don't know what's easier, like card counting or elixir counting. I think card counting is a little bit easier. I think it is, in my opinion, because all you need to do is literally just like let the opponent play a card, and then obviously the cards after that wait, like count to 4. So if he plays like a mini Pekka and then he plays like another card that's like one card, and then you need to wait for him to play like 3 more cards. So like mini Pekka plus 4 more cards afterwards, and then yeah, he's back to his mini Pekka. Let's go for the next game. So yeah, that's about card counting. It's super important. Let's go about how to play against, or not play against, what I'm talking about. When to Pekka the back, or just Pekka in general. So I get this question. It's like, do I Pekka in single elixir? And actually, yes, you do. You Pekka in single elixir, you Pekka in double elixir. And when you Pekka is really depending on the matchup, to be quite honest with you. So if you're playing against like giant decks and stuff like that, or goblin giant, you don't really want to Pekka the back in single elixir until they goblin giant. So you want to play in response, or they giant skeleton, and then you play the Pekka, stuff like that. But if they're playing decks that are a little bit like smaller, that don't have like crazier win conditions that you really need the Pekka for. So for example, if they have like, you know, minor wall breakers, if they play a minor wall breakers, and you defend that very adequately with like a ghost or something, or if they're playing like a drill spam deck, after they play their win condition like that, you can safely Pekka at the back because you can't get punished anymore for playing a Pekka in the back because obviously their pressure cards are out of hand. They don't have a Goblin Giant or like a regular Giant to pressure you. So that's when you can play your Pekkas in the back. Also, you can play your Pekkas in the bridge when you're up a ton of Elixir if you already have a card behind the Pekka. Preferably an air card like a Magic Archer or an Ewiz. I think it's just better as a support unit for sure than a Pekka. Or for a Pekka, yeah. And so that's my thought process on that. And you generally Pekka the bridge when you're playing against a really heavier deck because Pekka tends to do a lot better against heavier decks than cycle decks. And you Pekka the back a little bit more when you're playing against cycle decks. But it's honestly all down to like the situation of the game. Let's see my next tip I can give you guys. When to Magic Archer the bridge? This is another really good question. You Magic Archer the bridge when the matchup calls for you to Magic Archer the bridge. So like if you're playing against like an Expo deck, and he gives you a really good Magic Archer opportunity because obviously when you're playing against Expo, you can't get like normal damage because they have ultimate burst spam defense. So if they give you a really good Magic Archer alignment, that's when you take the opportunity to get a Magic Archer onto the tower. And obviously don't Magic Archer when you're down in Elixir. That's like a really big tip I can give you. Only Magic Archer when you have a good Elixir advantage. Or Magic Archer the bridge, I should say. When you have a really good Elixir advantage. Or you already have troops on the field to kill whatever he's going to defend your Magic Archer with, so he has to force a lot more of Elixir. But if you guys are like even on Elixir or you're down on Elixir and you don't have anything else on the field and you just drop your Magic Archer, that is a very terrible play and you will get punished for it. So play your Magic Archers very defensively. And yeah, so play your Magic Archers very defensively until you obviously know you're up in Elixir and you have troops on the field that will pressure more. Let's go for our next tips. Okay, so we got our next tip here, and it's about kiting with Battle Ram. And this tip is actually pretty important as well. So obviously Battle Ram is extremely good on defense. It's funny people say like Battle Ram is better on defense than it is on offense, and I can actually kind of agree with that. It's pretty funny how many counters there are for Battle Ram when you're trying to actually play it against them. But if you use it for yourself for defending, it's actually extremely good if you know how to use it properly. So like let's see here. So Battle Ram, it's pretty much if you have a Pekka in your hand and they have cards like a Mega Knight, Elite Barbarians, or Mini Pekka, it's actually pretty safe to Pekka the back in those situations, even though they have those high DPS cards in your hand, because more likely than not, you can just Battle Ram them. Sometimes most of the players actually won't really be counting cycle, which is pretty funny, and then they'll just spam you opposite lane. So if you Pekka the back and then they spam you opposite lane with like Elite Barbarians or like a Mega Knight, they'll just put a Mega Knight at the bridge opposite lane. You can just kite it with Battle Ram, and the Battle Ram will give you a nice counter push because if you time your Battle Ram well, it really won't take any damage. So it will kite the Mega Knight or Mini Pekka, Elite Barbarians, and it will feed your Pekka because it's going to run right into the Pekka, obviously. So that's extremely important, is utilizing your Battle Ram. It's extremely important. There's really nothing else I can really say to that. If you're playing against like an Inferno Tower deck, obviously against this guy, I don't think I even really showcase it that much in this game because I don't really need to be honest. But if you're playing against Inferno Tower decks, like you can just Pekka the corners instead of pecking like behind the King Tower. And then kind of when the Pekka gets close to the bridge, you kind of want to Battle Ram in front of the Pekka, and then that will lead the Inferno Tower to lock onto the Battle Ram for a decent amount of time. And so that's like another tip you can do. Hold on, guys. I'm just drinking a little bit of water. Okay, there we go. So yeah, so that's how you use your Battle Rams in that situation. Against playing recruits, you want to Battle Ram behind the Pekka as well, just to kind of create a lot of pressure in single lane. But yeah, utilizing the Battle Ram is extremely key in some matchups. Okay, and I got my last tip here, and this tip is pretty important. It's when to be aggressive, like being aggressive when you already have troops on the field. That's my next tip. So you can be as aggressive as you want, honestly, in like any matchup, as long as you know that their counter push is going to die. So If you know that their counter push won't die, do not be aggressive. But if you already have troops on the field and you know that your troops will take care of the troops that they're going to defend with, it's okay to be as aggressive as you want because they're not going to be able to have any counter push. You're going to be slowly chipping them out by obviously having a little bit more power than them. So yeah, this guy's gonna go for like a drill, I think. Yeah, and I go for a bandit. So like for example, like if I were to Pekka this, obviously like this is gonna go right into my giant or my Pekka. And then immediately I could just be super aggressive after this because he has nothing really that good. And all my troops are just going to take out his troops. I can be as aggressive as I want. So even if it's single elixir, as long as you know your interactions and that their troops are going to go down, just spam your heart out essentially because they're going to have to play a lot of elixir for your push and then you're going to just overwhelm them. So yeah, those are going to be all my tips. And like I said, if there's any more tips that you want to like learn for this deck, just obviously let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll do more videos in the future.